Hi, Senator Sanders. So my father's family left Soviet Russia in 1979, fleeing from some of the very same socialist policies that you seem eager to implement in this country. So my question is, how do you rectify your notion of democratic socialism with the failures of socialism in nearly every country that has tried it?
And do you think that Thank you for asking that question. Is it your assumption that I supported or believe in authoritarian communism that existed in the Soviet Union? I don't. I never have, and I opposed it. I believe in a vigorous democracy.
What's up, everyone? It's your boy Marcus here, back at it again with another video. What you just saw was a question Bernie Sanders received from his most recent CNN presidential town hall. And when I saw it, it just made my blood boil, because he is the only candidate that gets this sort of question, that gets this sort of gotcha question that the media wants to get a specific answer, and they can use this answer to essentially smear him. So it's a smear baiting question. Another prime example is during the town hall, he was asked about prisoners voting, and his reply being yes allows them to smear him. So I consider this a smear bait question. Now with this one, it comes down to the fact that he wants universal healthcare, universal higher education, things which are completely normal in the world, in developed first world countries, in developing second world countries, and in third world countries. Universal higher education and universal healthcare are normal things. But Bernie Sanders, being the only one who unapologetically pushes these ideas and these policies within the United States, he is somehow ridiculed as a socialist and ridiculously as some sort of radical communist Marxist. And that is exactly what this question is. It's a smear question where they basically want him to say the Soviet Union is pretty much bad, but it had good aspects, and some of those aspects were the investments it made in public education, in healthcare, yada yada yada. And they could use that answer of his as a smear to say he is a socialist, communist Marxist. I just quickly want to cover exactly what I think he should have said in response to this, because he gave the usual response where he's not aggressively responding to her question. He's saying the usual, that I'm not a communist or a supporter of the Soviet Union because I disagree with the top 1% owning 90% of the United States' wealth. This is I think a good response, and he said it a million times already. But I would have responded quite simply to this smear question. I would have responded simply by saying, I doubt your parents and your family fled the Soviet Union because of universal healthcare, universal college, the high literacy rates, the paid time leave all workers got, the guaranteed housing all residents of the Soviet Union received. I mean, let's be honest, these are not the reasons that her family left the Soviet Union. They didn't flee because of the health care. They didn't flee because everyone had a job. They didn't flee because everyone had housing. No, they fled because the Soviet Union was a police state, a surveillance state, and ultimately a one-party state that did not allow for true dissent and did not have privacy rights. And I've said this before many times on this channel, that I am not a fan of the Soviet Union. I am a fan of certain aspects of the Soviet Union, such as the jobs guarantee, such as the housing guarantee, healthcare, education, infrastructure. These are things that I find appealing about the Soviet Union, but to me much of this is discredited by the fact that There were no privacy rights. It was a surveillance state. It was a police state. But going back to my response, I would ask her this. I would say, your family didn't leave because of healthcare and education. They left because it was a police state. And I am the only candidate on this stage, if I was Bernie Sanders, because he is the only candidate on that stage who actively is against NSA spying, who is actively against the Patriot Act. He has proven this with his votes. He voted against the Patriot Act. He did not support the creation of Homeland Security, the creation of the National Security Agency, the NSA. He was actively against stop and frisk. So this question should be rightly directed at every other candidate on the stage in the Democratic Party, because none of them but him have the balls to say they want to abolish ICE, which again violates human rights on a regular basis. The NSA violates human rights on an active basis. Bernie Sanders is the only candidate actively opposing the policies that are making the United States, and have already made the United States, a surveillance state, a police state. This woman who asked the question is saying these socialist policies are why people fled the Soviet Union. No. They fled the Soviet Union because of the KGB. They fled the Soviet Union because something like the Fourth Amendment didn't exist, and the Fourth Amendment has already been essentially nullified in the United States. Bernie Sanders is the only candidate in the Democratic primary right now who has a track record of supporting privacy rights, of voting against increases in state surveillance, increases in police power. There's just no other way to put it. This is a complete smear question, and it shows you that CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, they want Bernie Sanders to lose, and they are pushing hard against him. And these smear type of questions, they're gonna happen every single time he goes on their platforms. There's no question about it. And it's sad, because if you're gonna do a smear question, at least do a good one, right? I will admit the prison one is unfortunately a good smear question. But this one, I mean, just think about it for a sec. It's absolutely ridiculous. The Patriot Act, the crime bill, why aren't all of these other candidates getting these questions? He voted against the Patriot Act and the 1994 crime bill. So, I'm sorry guys, this smear question for me is just simply laughable. Alright everyone, that's gonna do it for today's video. It was a short one this week because I had finals last week and didn't have much time. I just quickly wanted to give you guys my thoughts on the smear question that we saw the other week. But I will be back, and this summer the content will be continuously coming out, so get ready for that. I will see you guys in the next video, and have a good week.